Paris, Eiffel Tower, Tuileries, and Louvre all need no introduction. 6 days in a city like Paris is a sweep rather than a tour. Same is true if you visit Louvre and have only one day to see it.
Je poserai mon journal sur le bar devant moi. Je poserai mon journal, tu me reconnaîtras. Si t'es en retard, passé le quart, je prendrai un demi pour noyer mon ennui. Si t'es en retard,
While you're there, you also have to watch your wallet.
je prendrai un sérieux pour le noyer mieux.
There are 35,000 objects on display here and 60,000 square meters of area to cover. So our tour is very eclectic and rather idiosyncratic. We want to see our personal favorites, and then we want to see what we absolutely must see, and also all the random objects that catch our attention in passing.
On ira où tu voudras. Tu me prendras le bras comme autrefois. On ira voir notre rue, notre champ.
Our necks ache from gazing upwards, our eyes glaze over from the excess, and our feet are numb. Yet we continue.
Si tu lis ce journal, tu te reconnaîtras. La 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 la. On ira voir la Seine et le cœur de Paris, ma maison de carton au bon mari. On ira voir ailleurs, on ira faire fortune. La 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 la. On ira voir ailleurs parce qu'il est l'heure. Les chaises sont sur les tables, c'est la fin de la fable. Je pose ce qu'il me reste.
We feel compelled to enter room after room as if the objects of beauty assembled here were all to vanish after our passing. We are greedy. We want to take it all with us.
Eh ben, la 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 la.
Each year, more than 9 million visitors like us wander through the halls of Louvre. Some of them will walk away tired but mesmerized, and some, if you remember the warning, will walk away with your wallet. When we reach the section of antiquities, my husband and a group of German nuns are transfixed by the voluptuous body of Venus de Milo. Our divergent interests lead us into two different directions. I choose ancient Egypt. He sculpted Greek bodies. Next day, on to Musée d'Orsay, which used to be Gare d'Orsay, turn-of-the-century train station. I must say it is one of the most successful architectural conversions. Sculptures benefit from the openness of the Grand Hall. And paintings, especially Impressionists and Post-Impressionists, seem even more intimate, viewed in smaller spaces and mood-enhanced lighting. The Church of Saint Mary Magdalene is close neighbor to Place Vendôme, Rue Royale, and Rue Saint-Honoré. Very elegant and expensive section of the city. It was built as an homage to Napoleon's army. Today, this grand neoclassical edifice is in dire need of major renovation but public resources are allocated elsewhere, mainly to support Arab families on welfare, complain Parisians. Basilica de Sacré-Cœur still presides over Paris from the hill of Montmartre, as beautiful as ever, but its problem is location. 25 years ago, one could visit anytime and admire its architecture, stained glass windows, and interior mosaics. Then walk over to the neighboring Montmartre and have a leisurely cup of coffee at any of the cafes on Place du Théâtre. However, this year we have been instructed to go there in the morning and to be out of the area by the early afternoon. Also, to watch out for our cameras, purses, and pockets. We walk along narrow, winding streets towards Pigalle and Boulevard de Clichy. Along the boulevard, small shops peddle cheap merchandise and seedy strip and sex joints dominate the business. We stop to take photos of the once famous Moulin Rouge. Instead of review, a rock concert is scheduled there for the evening. To improve our mood, we leave the city and places we remember from better days. 55 kilometers from Paris, there is a palace of Fontainebleau and its gardens. Our Parisian friends, Sylvia and Pierre, join us for the trip. This 16th century palace has been added on and modified by many French monarchs. Early on, there were Italian craftsmen and painters who introduced Renaissance art to France. What is on display today in the renovated galleries is mostly Napoleon's decorating efforts, marked by imperial opulence, of course. Here is an interesting piece of information. Fontainebleau Palace also houses the Art, Music, and Architecture School for American students, founded by General Pershing in the 1920s.
Je revois la ville en fête et en délire, suffocant sous le soleil et sous la joie. Et j'entends dans la musique les cris, les rires qui éclatent et rebondissent autour de moi. Et perdu parmi ces gens qui me bousculent, étourdi, désemparé, je reste là.
The Grand Ballroom in Fontainebleau is where the Italian painters first introduced France to frescoes. This is the balcony, from where the musicians accompanied the royal Bourbons and their guests cavorting about. And this is Napoleon's private chapel.
Nous entraîne éclater l'un contre l'autre, nous ne formons qu'un seul corps. Et le besoin des torts nous a enchaînés l'un et l'autre, et nous laisse tous deux épanouis, enivrés et heureux, et traînés par la foule qui s'élance et qui danse une folle farandole. Nos deux mains restent soudées, et par son soulevé, nos deux corps enlacés s'envolent, et retournent tous deux épanouis, enivrés et heureux.
And collection of gifts received by the emperor and his family from visiting noble guests.
Et la joie, éclaboussée par son sourire, me transperce et rejaillit au fond de moi. Mais soudain, je pousse un cri parmi les rires, quand la foule vient l'arracher d'entre mes bras, emporté par la foule qui nous traîne, nous entraîne, nous éloigne l'un de l'autre. Je lutte et je me débat, mais le son de sa voix s'étouffe dans les rires des autres, et je crie de douleur, de fureur et de rage, et je pleure, et traîné par la foule qui s'élance et qui danse une folle farandole. Je suis emporté au loin, et j'écoute mes poings, maudissant la foule qui me vole.
Like the ballroom, this gallery is also original Renaissance interior, dating back to early 1500s, the first version of the Fontainebleau. It is early December and Paris is ready for Noel. Eiffel Tower is dressed up in lights for the season, and the show is every half an hour. Champs-Élysées sparkle with delicate and whimsical decorations. Crowds of people move slowly, like a lazy river, hypnotized by the orgy of lights. Galeries Lafayette luxury department store is another holiday destination. Inside, gigantic 4 stories high mechanized Christmas tree. Shoppers with children line up along the balustrade on each floor to observe the ever-changing scene. Outside, each store window has either Christmas or a New Year's themed display. Everything is sparkling and moving. Christmas carols pour from the loudspeakers. Little ones, guided by their parents, move from one magical picture to another as if in a trance. This picture managed to put one California tourist in a trance. We had to whisk him off to London to avoid overeating. In London, holiday shopping season is in full swing. Pubs are open, streets decorated, and throngs of shoppers are out, merrily spending their hard-earned pounds on Christmas trinkets.
Tonight is the night we're gonna jump on the roof. Well, the reindeer, they were so proud and grand, taking another trip all over the land. They hopped right into their proper place to get hepped up for that midnight parade. Yeah. Santa, he kicked off the ice and snow, boarded his sled and he said, let's go. All the little toys were happy too because they were...
The mood is festive, and we are celebrating too. First the theater, Much Ado About Nothing. Then a drink, not one, a few.
Right to the reindeer boogie this Christmas Eve night.
And finally, a gourmet dinner. And a walk home. Next day, we do what proper tourists do. That is, visit tourist attractions. First is the Tower of London. During the last 8 centuries, it earned its reputation as a most cruel and notorious prison in London. Built by William the Conqueror in 1078, the compound was still in use as a prison in 1952. For a while, the tower also served as royal residence to many prominent prisoners. The earliest was 12-year-old Prince Edward V and his younger brother Richard, who both mysteriously disappeared during the imprisonment. Anne Boleyn, beheaded wife of Henry VIII, also resided there, and Lady Jane Grey, who was queen for just 9 days, later also beheaded. Next site, frequently visited by tourists, is St. Paul's Cathedral and the monument of Queen Victoria. The cathedral is the seat of the Bishop of London. The church was first founded on this site in the year of 604 AD. The present structure is relatively new, 17th century English Baroque. Here, His Majesty and the Princess are setting out for an outing together. The destination is Dover upon the Channel. These are famous white cliffs known from literature and popular music. And here is a medieval castle called Key to England, because of its defensive significance throughout British history. It was built in the 12th century and it is designated as the largest castle in England. The visit to the throne room, the bedroom, and the kitchens. What else can you do these days in the medieval castle? Now, the royal pair is headed to the Royal Observatory in Greenwich. They are heading there to visit the Prime Meridian, which divides our globe into Eastern and Western Hemisphere. King Charles II, in 1675, founded not only the observatory, but also the position of the royal astronomer. His job was to study the motions of heavens for perfection of the art of navigation. Many people visit the Royal Observatory for the sole purpose of having their picture taken with one foot in the east and another in the west. There is no pain involved in this endeavor. It's just a matter of timing because of the crowd. Now, a quick visit to 3 towns in southeastern Poland. Zamość and Lublin date back to before Renaissance times. In both places, Christians and Jews lived and worshipped side by side for centuries. Presently, both towns are investing in renovation of churches, town halls, marketplaces, as well as synagogues and Jewish communal buildings destroyed during World War II. Tourists are welcome to appreciate colorful residences of Renaissance merchants, marble sculptures, and opulent decor of Baroque churches. And, when tired out, sample exquisite Polish and Jewish dishes in many local restaurants. This synagogue in Zamość was built in 17th century. Now reconstructed, it serves the local Jewish population. In Lublin, the tour starts in the renovated main square, which is Poland's largest complex of historic buildings. Walking distance from the main square is Lublin's medieval castle. Established in the 12th century, it is one of the oldest preserved royal residences in Poland. The Cathedral of St. John the Baptist is the seat of Archbishop of Lublin. The church is called the Pearl of Polish Baroque. First built in Renaissance style, in 1586 by Italian architect Giovanni Maria Berdoni. In 1752, it was reconstructed and redecorated according to the reigning style, which was Baroque. Now, onto another one of Lublin's historical marvels, the Dominican Church, founded in 1342, originally Gothic in style, but rebuilt in Renaissance after a devastating fire. The town of Siedlce in eastern Poland would be an unremarkable provincial whistle-stop, if not for a painting in the parish museum. One wonders how it ended up in Siedlce in the first place. It is definitely worth a trip if you're in a neighborhood, to see the original El Greco, the ecstasy of St. Francis. From a provincial town in Poland, with no major effort, we will teleport to a metropolis on a distant continent. Yes, this is Johannesburg, also known as Joburg, in South Africa. Johannesburg is a metropolis of social contrasts, which make the visitor uneasy and wondering about the future of the city and the whole country as well. Downtown Joburg during the day is just like any other downtown in a large city. Cars compete for space with buses and delivery trucks, noise, street construction, people rushing by, skyscrapers reflecting the sun, and advertisements vying for your attention. But a few blocks away from the bustling city center, there is a totally different landscape. We drive slowly enough to take pictures, but not too slow. Our guide, who is black and college educated, tries to put us at ease. It's okay now, but not after dark, she says. As a tour guide, she has connections, and thanks to her, we are able to visit the inner city slum called Alexandra. At the outskirts of Alexandra Township, there is an open market with a few stalls. And then we cross one or two narrow paved streets at the edge and get lost in the maze of walkways with no names and numbers. For a small fee, people with no other source of income beyond government's assistance let us into their homes to poke around and examine their poverty up close. It's such an intrusive business that it leaves bad taste in my mouth. For people living in Alexandra, the old order of village life has disintegrated. But their mass migration to the city did not resolve anything. They live at the edge of hunger and disease, waiting for change.
Turn on the weatherman, is that for the news, honey? Sweet rain will wash away.
But there is also the Soweto Township, famous for Nelson Mandela and organized resistance to the laws of apartheid. The living conditions here are much better than in Alexandra. Market is large, well organized, full of colorful wares and African tribal artifacts. Our guide tells us that Soweto is really middle class in comparison with Alexandra. We visit Nelson Mandela's house, where he lived and practiced law, and the church Regina Mundi, where the famous riots in Soweto had begun. Now, the church serves as the historical memorial and a depository of gifts from nations and individuals honoring Nelson Mandela and the citizens of Soweto.
Ought to be high, so do